After a traumatic accident, a woman returns to her hometown but ends up staying at a supposed witch's home where she begins to experience unexplainable things. Sarlotta hides from her mother, but the woman finds her and pulls her out by the hair. She manages to escape and runs out, only for her little sister Tamara to follow. When Tamara grabs her from behind, Sarlotta turns, accidentally pushing her sister off the cliff. Sarlotta can only run away in horror. As the years pass, a woman starts living in the mountains, accompanied only by snakes. Eventually, an adult Sarlotta returns but finds that her old home has been reduced to rubble. She moves to the abandoned cabin nearby where she sees a box containing a teddy bear with a child's tooth inside. The box also contains a clump of hair, and when she touches it, Sarlotta sees a vision of the woman in the mountains. Frightened, she runs. Sarlotta spends the rest of the day gathering water. However, as she's heading back, a car arrives. Helena, Juro, and Adam check if someone's inside the cabin, and when they confirm that it's empty, they start a fire, claiming that it'll protect them from the witch. They eventually spot Sarlotta, so Juro confronts her, recalling that he saw her hiking there earlier. When she tells them her name, they think she's a ghost as they believe Sarlotta died years ago. To prove her identity, the woman collects her belongings from the cabin, though she hides the sonogram from her bag. She then hands the group a letter from the mayor, who summoned her to collect her inheritance from her mother. As the group reads this, Sarlotta continues to prepare for the night. Juro notices her grab the axe, so he panics and points his gun at her. Helena tries to calm him down, though when he refuses to put his weapon down, Mira tackles him. Confused, Sarlotta asks if she's allowed to spend the night in the cabin, but Helena warns that the witch dropped a tree on the last person who stayed there. Suddenly, they hear something in the darkness, so the group hurries away, leaving Sarlotta, who puts out the fire they started. In the morning, a shepherd, Rado, notices the woman sleeping in the cabin. Sarlotta later catches him asleep in the field as she makes her way into town. She goes to the mayor's office to claim her inheritance, as she was supposedly scheduled to claim it that day. However, the staff reveal that the mayor's out of town, so they advise her to return next week. Afterward, Sarlotta visits her family's graves where an old neighbor and Helena's mother, Anna, approaches. The woman takes her hand and sees her birthmark, convincing Anna that she's the real Sarlotta. Sarlotta admits that she ran away to the city, and the woman assumes that she did so because she was scared of the witch, Otilla. Anna recounts that Otilla was blamed for Sarlotta and Tamara's disappearances, so she was punished to make her confess. This surprises Sarlotta. Anna also insists that she shouldn't stay at Otilla's house, even offering to let her stay with them, but Sarlotta politely refuses. Just then, she receives a call from her boyfriend, David, though she rejects it. Sarlotta then heads back to the mountain, passing by townsfolk who watch her with suspicion. On the way, she crosses paths with Tomas, who's looking into a window. The man hurries away upon seeing her, letting Sarlotta witness that he was watching Mira with Juro. At night, the woman cleans the wound on her stomach when someone knocks on the door. Cautiously, she grabs the axe before checking but finds no one outside. Still suspicious, Sarlotta checks the perimeter and discovers Mira lying down on the field where her old house used to be. She claims to be getting a tan, explaining that since the sun burns, she prefers to bathe in the moonlight. Mira then invites Sarlotta to join her, but the woman instead offers to share her dinner. During their meal, they hear something move on the roof. Mira says it's probably Otilla, but she laughs, revealing that she doesn't believe in the witch story. With this in mind, Sarlotta shows Mira the teddy bear from the cabin, which used to be hers. As they search the box further, they find a journal full of strange drawings, convincing Sarlotta that Otilla might have been a witch. Days later, with Sarlotta now sleeping in Mira's home, the women are woken up by a commotion outside. There, they see the men spraying Tomas's wife, Zofa, with water as part of their Easter tradition. The men also storm Mira's house, and despite the women's protest, they drag the ladies outside and throw Mira into the lake. Sarlotta, however, fights back and accidentally kicks one of the kids. She tries to apologize, but the people think she did it on purpose. At night, Helena catches a glimpse of Sarlotta disrobing in Mira's house. However, this is only for Mira to help her remove the stitches stitches from her wound. Mira complains that since Sarlotta's a nurse, she should do it herself, but the woman doesn't feel comfortable removing her own stitches. Sarlotta then wonders who sent her the inheritance letter, now doubting that the mayor did since he's still away. She then asks when Mira moved into town, so she explains that she chose the place since the houses are cheap due to people thinking it's haunted. She also likes that it's close to the woods, allowing her to grow her herbs. Mira then receives a message from Juro, leading her to share how she's not serious about relationships. Sarlotta envies this since she can't be intimate with anyone she isn't in love with. The women head to the mountains the next day, but Sarlotta freezes when they reach the spot where Tamara fell. As the memories return, Sarlotta has a panic attack that night. They camp in a cave, but she rushes out to calm down, stopping only when she sees a wolf in the woods. She runs back to the cave, allowing her friend to calm her down until she sleeps. In the morning, Sarlotta shares how David often ordered her to calm down when she panics, but it only made things worse. Mira then wonders what her friend wants in life, so Sarlotta admits that she wants to raise a family. However, thinking of how her mother treated her, Sarlotta hesitates. She admits that while most people feel empathy towards children, she feels nothing for them. She thinks it's weird, but Mira doesn't believe that all women should feel the need to be mothers. With this in mind, Sarlotta admits that she was pregnant, but she didn't want the child. Her pregnancy wasn't even accidental since she and David had been trying. When she finally conceived, she felt something was wrong. Now, Sarlotta thinks that her hesitance caused her to miscarry, and this was why David left her. Mira thinks the man was foolish to leave her while she was vulnerable, but Sarlotta fully takes the blame, declaring that she killed both her son and her sister. She then runs off, mourning for Tamara and her child. Her tears are interrupted when she notices a large trail cutting through the woods as if something large barreled down the mountain. Looking up, Sarlotta removes her wig, revealing her balding head before she climbs up the trail. As she later bathes in the woods, she notices a wolf watching her. Unbeknownst to her, Tomas is also watching the woman from afar. Days after, Sarlotta fixes up Helena's roof to make money. During this, she asks the woman if Otella burned her mother's house, but Helena only claims that the witch cursed their land. Sarlotta doubts that Otella would have cursed her own home, but Helena reveals that it's the place where a child was taken from her. Helena recounts that Otella was with a wild child that attacked everyone. Distracted by this story, Sarlotta drops her hammer, and when Helena picks it up, she finds a snake nearby. Panicked, the woman uses the hammer against it until Mira stops her, scolding her for attacking the creature. Seeing that it's already dying, Mira orders Helena to end its misery. However, she hesitates, so Sarlotta takes the hammer and kills it. The incident has Helena crying, so she runs off. The next morning, Sarlotta chances upon the villagers leaving the church. Anna greets her and introduces her husband, Pharaoh, though the man isn't convinced that she's the real Sarlotta. The woman then approaches Helena, but she refuses to say more about Otella's child. Sarlotta begs that the child might have been Tamara, but Helena just snaps at her for taking Mira from her. As they drink by the river, Helena finally reveals that she likes Mira, but she refuses to confess. Sarlotta suggests that Mira might be open to being with a woman, though Helena isn't convinced. She then mentions the wild child again, so Helena claims that she never saw it. She only knows that the villagers took the child away. Just then, Mira finds them, so she and Sarlotta carry a drunk Helena back home, only for her mother to blame them for her condition. On another day, Sarlotta cuts the grass around the cabin when she discovers Rado sleeping in the field again. He wakes up and starts flirting with her, teasing her about being the witch. He then teaches her how to sharpen her scythe, drawing them close. The next day, Sarlotta visits Anna and Helena, asking about the child again. To force them to talk, she takes the goose Anna had been preparing, insisting on getting answers. She first demands to know why her mother's house burned down, so Anna explains it's because she caught Otella dancing with her coven in the woods. The women then take the goose from her hands before Anna continues that Otella killed Tamara after Sarlotta escaped from her. Sarlotta clarifies that she escaped her mother, who beat her. Doubting this, Anna assumes that Otella targeted the sisters because they weren't baptized. Witches need unbaptized blood to stay young, and she believes this was why Otella went to their town. The town believes that the witch sacrificed Tamara, then killed her mother so she could raise her wild child alone. Sarlotta again insists on knowing where the child is since it could be Tamara. In response, Anna hands Sarlotta Tamara's old bloody dress, using this as proof that her sister is dead. The woman and cries as she recalls how her sister really died. But as she does, Anna and Helena find a frog inside their goose. Since Sarlotta took the bird earlier, they accuse her of bewitching it, so they threaten her to leave. Sarlotta runs into the woods when someone suddenly grabs her wig from behind. She turns just before Pharaoh knocks her out. She wakes up back in the cabin with Mira, who saved her from Pharaoh. Her friend returns her wig, and as she puts it on, Sarlotta explains that she pulls her hair out the same as when people bite their nails. Dismissing this, Mira just asks why she's still wondering about Tamara when she already knew she was dead. Sarlotta admits that the incident happened long ago, so she hoped that Tamara might have survived. Mira wonders why it would matter since Sarlotta seemed to have hated her sister. Offended, Sarlotta starts pulling the hair on her brows and orders Mira to leave. Mira then returns home and finds Tomas punishing his son, thinking that he killed their goat. Mira throws a rock at the man to make him stop, berating him for always taking his anger out on women and children. She then goes to her house, but Tomas barges in. Undeterred, the woman continues insulting him, only for the man to force himself on her. However, Mira bites his hand before running back into the woods. Pissed and dissatisfied, Tomas goes to his wife and, without a word to her, begins using her to satisfy himself. However, when Zofa starts getting her own satisfaction, he refuses to continue. Elsewhere, Mira finds Sarlotta asleep in the spot where her old house used to be. She lies next to her and cries, recalling how Attila found Tamara's body after she fell. She tried to take her to her mother for help, but when no one answered their door, she took the girl into her cabin. Some nights later, the town gathers for a festival. However, Tomas uses this chance to spread rumors that he'd been intimate with Mira. This prompts his friends to mock the woman, who simply ignores them and adds her concoction to the cups of liquor she just bought. Tomas's sons then ask his help to get them a ride on the ATV, but he only threatens them to leave him alone, making them run. Mira then gives the cups to Sarlotta and Rado, explaining that she added her love potion to their drinks. The woman then goes to Helena next, so Rado invites Sarlotta to dance. During their dance, the couple gets drawn closer to each other until the effects of Mira's drinks take over. Their dance becomes more sultry and more of the townsfolk join them. Amidst this, Zofa searches for her sons while Adam attempts to touch Sarlotta. In response, she pushes him off, but the others blame her for seducing him. Sarlotta argues that she defended herself from him, unlike them who just ignore such acts. Helena defends that they're not indecent like her, though Sarlotta sarcastically calls them decent people who harm their wives and children. With that, Sarlotta, Mira, and Rado walk off. As they're stargazing later, Sarlotta asks her friend what she put in their drink. Mira just says it's her shot of truth, and this has them giggling. Suddenly, the townsfolk run past them as a game begins, so the trio also run into the woods. However, Sarlotta gets separated and chased by wolves. While running, she sees an apparition of Tamara falling from the cliff. When she looks down, Sarlotta sees Mira at the bottom instead. Confused, Sarlotta looks down on her hands and finds herself covered in glowing powder. She then heads to the woods and sees more people covered in the powder, undulating on the ground. Panicked, Sarlotta continues running, seeing more and more people in strange positions until she bumps into Rado. This snaps her out of her hallucination. Rado asks what happened, and Sarlotta merely stares at him longingly. This leads to the two getting intimate, which Helena witnesses. Troubled by this, she walks out, only to stumble upon a group of witches dancing. Among them is Mira, who tempts Helena into joining them. Driven by her desires, Helena joins the witches in their dance and kisses Mira. As she does, however, she sees the witches change into old women. Panicked, the woman runs but ends up falling off the cliff. Sarlotta wakes up in the morning and recalls her vision of Mira being in Tamara's place. Suspicious, she heads to the cliff where Mira appears, confirming that she's actually Tamara. Sarlotta asks why she didn't tell her the truth, so Tamara admits that she thought her sister would run away again if she did. Finally, Sarlotta apologizes for what happened, and Tamara embraces her. Rain falls, so the sisters run back to Tamara's house only to find that it's been ransacked. Her valuables are still there, so Tamara figures out that Tomas wrecked her place. Among the mess, Sarlotta finds copies of the letter that she received from the mayor, revealing that Tamara was the one who sent them. She also finds photos of Tamara growing up in an orphanage, so her sister explains that she lived with Attila after Sarlotta left. Tamara recounts that after waking in Attila's house, she went home but found that their mother had ended her life. The shock caused her to drop a lamp, which started the fire that burned their house. She could only retrieve her sister's teddy bear before escaping. Since then, Otella raised her, teaching her how to handle snakes. However, the villagers took her away. Before she can continue her story, they hear the men arrive, carrying a wounded Helena. However, they still haven't found Zofa's sons, so she calls the police. Anna steps out of her house and sees Sarlata tending to her daughter. She refuses to let her touch Helena, calling her a witch. So the men pull Sarlata away despite her reminding them that she's a nurse. Sarlata fights off the men to check on the wounded woman. However, Tomas retrieves a gun, ordering the woman to back off. Just then, Anna finds that Helena is dead, so she blames Sarlata. With this, Tomas accuses the woman of taking his sons too, and so Tamara pulls her sister away to escape. Soon, a group of volunteers searches for the boys, though Tomas is convinced that the sisters have them. He convinces his wife to check on them, so he calls his friends to help. Back at the cabin, Sarlata packs up, but before they can leave, the men arrive. Adam and Juro bind Tamara while Zofa searches for her sons. However, she confirms that they're not there and gets scared to see the men capturing Tamara, insisting on not harming the women. Just then, Zofa finds Sarlata's sonogram, making her believe that the woman took her sons to replace hers. Sarlata denies this, and taking a chance, Adam orders her to remove her clothes to prove it, threatening Tamara in the process. With no choice, Sarlata does as she's told. Tomas then removes her wig and asks where his sons are. When she says she doesn't know, he punches her. Tamara then yells that his sons ran away since Tomas beats them, leading the man to punch her as well. He continues harming the women, but Zofa feels guilty and urges her husband to look for their sons in the woods. With this, Tomas takes Adam to continue searching, telling his wife to make the women confess while Juro will keep watch of them. After her husband leaves, Zofa orders Sarlata to get dressed. Tamara argues that they're not witches, but Zofa doesn't listen. She then turns to Juro, accusing him of getting excited from seeing them harmed. Ashamed, the man steps out, leaving Zofa with the sisters. The woman then asks Sarlata about her child, empathizing with how it must be hard to outlive her son. In turn, Sarlata sarcastically empathizes with Zofa for living with such a horrible husband. Zofa defends that God united her and Tomas for better or worse, believing that all men are the same anyway. She then offers them a chance to escape if they return her sons. To give them time to consider, she heads out. The sun soon rises, and Juro sees a snake approaching. He loads his gun to shoot it, but the snake disappears. Afraid that she cursed him, he takes Tamara and asks her to find the snake. When she doesn't, he throws her back inside, only to find the cabin now littered with snakes. Meanwhile, Zofa exits the outhouse and hears her sons' voices in the woods, so she runs to them. As Juro fetches his gun to kill the snakes, Tamara frees her sister, allowing her to escape. Juro grabs Tamara before she can leave, then fires a shot towards an escaping Sarlata. He then ties Tamara to a chair before chasing after Sarlata, only to discover that he had accidentally shot Zofa instead. He leaves to get help while Zofa continues to yell for her sons. Sarlata runs to Rado's sheep to get help while Tomas returns, thinking that the sisters harmed his wife. As revenge, he burns the cabin, leaving a bound Tamara inside. Rado soon helps Sarlata back to the cabin, which they find in flames. They hurry to free Tamara and carry her out. Desperately, Sarlata attempts to revive her sister, but it's too late. Unbeknownst to them, after Tamara was taken by the villagers, Otella left her bear and some of her hair in the box, hoping that she'd find them as mementos from her if the girl returned. The woman then went out to search for Tamara, only to be bitten by the snake she'd cared for. As she laid drying on the field, she imagined that the sisters had reunited and would return to the mountains together. In the end, the witches the villagers feared were just products of their paranoia. However, Tamara's psychedelics also fueled their imaginations, like what had led to Helena.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.